One day Jimmy John went into a brothel on the west coast of Canada. He was greeted by a stunning hostess that politely asked how they can be of service. Jimmy, with his Newfoundland accent, says, "I would like to see Peggy Sue." The hostess replies, "Okay, she's just finishing up and will be with you momentarily." Peggy Sue comes out and leads Jim John into the back, where she immediately gets right to business. Peg says $100 for a BJ and $200 for the full meal deal. Jimmy hands her $200 and she rocks his world. The next day, Jim comes back at the same time and asks the same hostess to see Peggy Sue. This time, Peg was on standby and ready. Peggy, remembering Jimmy, asked him if he wanted to do the same as the day before. Jim nods, hands Peg 2 C notes, and away they go. The third day, Jim is back. The hostess says, "Let me guess, you're here to see Peggy Sue." Jimmy replied, "Yes, bye." The hostess directed him down the hall to the back room where she was. Peggy, now warming up to Jimmy, starts to get into a little small talk with him. She asks Jimmy John, "Where are you from?" Jim proudly says, "St. John's, Newfoundland." Peggy's expression shows even more curiosity as she says, "So am I. What neighborhood do you live in?" Jim replies, "East Meadows." Startled, Peggy Sue says, "My parents live in East Meadows." Jimmy John says, "I know. They're next door to me and asked me to bring you $600. Five-years-old son. After watching a story of an emperor on TV. "Mom, I also want 7 wives. One will cook for me, one will read for me, one will go for walk with me, one will sing for me, one can bath me." Mom smiled and said, "Then nighttime I don't have to accompany you to sleep." After some thought, son said, "Not possible, I still want to sleep with you, Mommy." Mom's eyes fill up with tears of happiness. "My sweet son. Then who will sleep with your 7 wives? Let them sleep with Daddy." Dad's eyes fill up with tears of happiness. "My sweet son." A rabbi, a priest, and a minister are playing poker when the cops raid the game. The lead officer questions the priest, "Father Murphy, were you gambling?" Father Murphy silently asks God to forgive him for what he is about to say. "No, officer. I was not gambling." The cop turns to the minister, "Pastor Johnson, were you gambling?" Pastor Johnson also appeals to heaven. "No, officer. I was not gambling." The cop finally turns to the rabbi. "Rabbi Goldstein, were you gambling?" "Gambling?" he asks, glancing at the priest and the minister. "With who?"